this video, we're going to talk about the Shark Bay World Heritage Area. Is that what you want to call it? So Shark Bay World Heritage Area. So basically went and checked out Monkey Mire. What else is there? Shelley Beach, Hamelin Pools, the Stratomites, the Steep Point, whatever's in that area, we kind of checked it out. So, but first up, we are on the way in. We actually stopped by the Stratomites.
Hamelin Pool.
What are they called?
Stratomites.
I did get it right. So the Stratomite. So this particular spot, we've heard that you can walk out onto a boardwalk and see these creatures or coral. What are they?
Yeah, so it's kind of a marine, same thing that you find in caves, but in a marine environment. So
yeah, only
found in certain areas of the world, and Shark Bay has one of them.
Yeah, I think it's got something to do with the salt content of the waters and so forth.
And microorganisms
in there. So we're no marine biologists, but that's what I think the sign said from memory. But pretty much when we get there, we found out that it was actually closed. The jetty had actually been damaged during, I think, one of the cyclones.
Yeah, the 2021 cyclone that went through. Yeah,
so that whole jetty thing was damaged, so you could actually walk out onto the jetty. It was actually pretty hard to see these.
Couldn't see anything from the beach, really.
Stratomites in the water. The only real way you could have seen is when we threw the drone up and managed to get some footage of what they potentially were or what they do look like. So yeah.
Works was supposed to be completed mid-2022, but I think COVID may have had something to do with that, as it's still boarded up with really no work going on. So
yeah. So after that, we headed off to
Shell Beach.
and Shell Beach, that was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, so you drive in at first and people say, well, there's millions of shells on the beach, and you drive in and you go, yeah, there's little shells. I wouldn't say millions of shells. So parked the car and started walking, and then we went up and over this dune, and there are millions of shells on the beach.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see all these little shells, yeah, kids?
Yeah, it was very satisfying watching them fall from their hand.
Yeah, so you literally scoop them up
handfuls.
And just watch them just drop out of your hand. So Shell Beach, I don't know, you can swim there. There were a couple of people sunbaking and swimming.
They say it's the second most salty bay in the world, second only to the Dead Sea. I wasn't going to try it because I've heard that the Dead Sea's makes you itch when you get in and out of the water because it's so salty. So we weren't going to try it, but yeah.
It's pretty cool. Nice, the same colour waters that we keep encountering along this coast. But yeah, Shell Beach was
sand. It was just these shells.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see shells everywhere.
Yeah. All,
little tiny shells.
All shades of white and different shapes and sizes, but
yeah,
incredible.
And then after that, we headed out to Monkey Mire.
The Monkey Mire.
Yeah, Monkey Mire RAC. So that's a pretty cool caravan park as well. It's really well laid out, really big open spaces to park your van or your boat or whatever you're intending to bring up there. What else they got there? Swimming pools.
They've got a swimming pool. They've got a couple of playgrounds. Actually, a couple of swimming pools. A couple of playgrounds. Big giant chess set. Lots of amenities. Lots of camp kitchens.
Yeah, there wasn't much in the rec room, was there?
No, just
No, you could get the table tennis bats and balls from reception, as well as a mini golf.
You had to actually hire those. I can't remember whether it was $5 or something, a club or something.
They've got the general store as well. Also a couple of bars and restaurants. It's more a resort, I would say. It's probably why it's called resort too, than a caravan park, because you've got the backpacker section, you've got marine, research accommodations, you've got motel style accommodations, all in the one area. So it's very well catered to all different budgets, I think, as well.
Yeah, so that isn't included in the WA annual parks pass, was it?
Yeah, so Monkey Mine is a conservation area in and of itself, and it's not funded by WA government. So it's $15 per day per adult, or $40 for a family per day. It does include your dolphin experience attendance, but if you're going to be there more than 2 days, it's actually cheaper for you to get the annual pass, which was
annual or
annual.
Okay.
Yep, $60 for 2 adults, 2 children, and an extra $10 for the extra child. But they didn't charge me for that. She said to me, I don't think it's fair that you get penalised for having 3 children, so she just charged me the $60.
We'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take that. And then that just covers you for your time in the conservation area and experiencing the dolphins.
The first morning we got up, we went for a bit of a walk, and we actually seen the dolphins just darting up and down
the
beach. Like, they probably would have only been 1 metre or 2 from the shore, and that was pretty spectacular. Like, you kind of think, are there actually going to be dolphins just swimming around? But there actually were. The kids were still in bed, so we didn't get to go back and wake them up. So basically we just saw them playing within the moorings of the ropes and dashing up and down.
I think there would have been 7 or 8 dolphins there that first morning.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to see. So but we actually went the next morning thinking, we're going to see lots of dolphins again, and there are going to be dolphins everywhere, and there wasn't the next morning.
No, we had to wait. So again, talking to the researchers, they said last year there were 19 days where dolphins didn't come at all. And so I'm like, I hope they come. They did come late. They are wild animals. They beat to their own drum, but they did eventually come. Yeah,
there's only 1 or 2 who came. There was nowhere near as many the previous day that we seen them, but they eventually did come up, and it was pretty cool to watch that or experience that, actually physically step in the water, because you're not supposed to go. Well, basically, as soon as a dolphin comes to shore and you're in the water, you've basically been told you got to jump out and leave them alone. But to have permission, and they've only allowed to do it in that roped off area where you actually go down after showing your pass. They do check your pass.
They do check your passes,
give you a little bit of a speech, letting you know what you can and you can't do with the dolphins and how the whole thing's going to operate. But then, once you've got that, they check your pass, you go down and you step into the water and watch the dolphins come up.
Yeah. So, and then it's really engaging with the dolphins. Like, they turn their bodies and eyeball you. So it's quite fascinating that they want to make that connection with you. Very social animals. So I found that part of it, just incredible to have them turn their body, look at you with their eyes, and make eye contact. It was pretty cool.
It's kind of like they know who you call them, rangers?
Yeah, rangers.
Who the rangers are, and basically, who the people are. They kind of stare you down. Just go, do I know you? No, I don't know you, and kind of keep swimming. It's cool, wasn't it, kids? Yeah. And then they've got volunteers that come out with buckets to feed the dolphins. So we're a little bit disappointed, because we heard that you kind of maybe get selected to feed the dolphins, but this particular case, the experience, all it allowed you to do was just step ankle deep into the water and let the dolphins kind of swim around and see them getting fed by the volunteers. So they only feed them 3 fish?
Yeah, so
each, and they've all got little buckets.
Yeah, the dolphins have up to 10 kilos of fish a day as part of the keeping them wild. They only give them, I think she said, 900 grams. So they give them 1/10 of their daily intake in this feeding. So they very closely monitor who they feed what. So it's 3 fish 3 times a day between 7:45 a.m. and 12 noon. So if they come up at 7:45, then at 8 o'clock, and then at 8:15, then all of the dolphin experiences for that day are closed. So they do suggest getting there at 7:45 for that first one, because if they feed really quickly, then it's over really quickly.
Yeah, so once they feed the fish, I think the last fish, the volunteers stick their hand up to let them know that there's only one fish left, and then
rinse the buckets.
They feed them the last fish and then rinse the buckets, and that's a sign to let the dolphins know that there's no more fish, time to go.
And they have to go out for 10 minutes, clear the beach off, because then the dolphins know, yep, it's time to go. If they come back after the 10 to 15 minutes, then they do the next experience again from there. So it's all relying on the dolphins and the dolphins' behaviour.
Yeah, but yeah, if you get down there, but yeah, with the up pass, you can go as many times as you want, as long as you're staying there.
Yeah.
Well, we got the annual pass, so if you can come every day if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could.
But yeah, we had other cool experiences staying there. So we actually met when we were first rocking in, we met a guy called Michael and Meredith.
Yep.
Lovely people from Perth, and we just got started chatting with them. Basically, it started off, they just going, well, as you're setting up, now we're going to talk to you while you're setting up. So for these, every time you pull in, someone always wants to have a chat, or when you're leaving, everyone wants to have a chat. So, but they were really lovely people, weren't they? Yeah,
they were, and they took a liking to our children, I think, whether it's a grandparent thing and they were missing their own grandchildren, but they really took a liking to the kids.
Yeah, so basically they brought down their boat called Magic. We'll get to a little bit about that later on, but yeah, he wanted to take us out on the boat and basically give us a memory that we won't forget.
Yeah.
So yeah, the next day the weather was kind of okay, not as real windy. It was really windy when we were there, and then the wind kind of died down. But yeah, he basically said he wanted to take us out on the boat, and he did. He took us out as he said he would, and we went out onto the bays and did a bit of sightseeing and fishing. And what did you?
So the night before, I suggested that we go fishing. I was like, yeah, we can go fishing.
Yeah, so because Jensen wanted to go fishing, he took us out fishing, and just to try our luck, but he wasn't really confident just by the way the moon was and the tide or the barometer or something. So yeah, really keen fisherman, and knew it. knew the area very well and when the fish would bite, but he thought, you never know, when you put your hooks in the water, you never know what you were going to get. And to our surprise, something just took the rods, Jensen had the rod at the time, and the thing just,
it was taking line on him.
Yeah, I've never seen line like that.
I've never seen line run like that, or heard it.
So he tried to reel it in, but I don't think I could reel it in, so Michael actually took over and helped him reel in this fish. And then what did we find?
Massive.
Wow, we found
it was a big gold-spotted
cod.
Estuary cod.
It was big, and it was under a metre, but it's probably one of the biggest fish we've ever seen. Yeah. We just couldn't stop smiling and giggling, going, look at the size of this thing. It was huge, but it's huge to us, but when we got it in, Michael just showed us a few tips of what to do and how to make sure the fish was good for eating, or so to speak.
That we humanely worked this fish, that it was a blessing that we caught it, and that we respect that. So he showed us how to do a few different things and what they do on their boats. And
then after that we just tried a few more fishing spots, got a few little nibbles, few little bites. We didn't really catch anything major, apart from I think a little snapper or something.
Well, see, the snapper was at home. It would be a keeper for us because it's quite a decent sized snapper. Michael's like, oh, that's just a bait fish. Oh, okay. And then Ben caught the butterfish. A
little butterfly fish or whatever.
Which is a small fish, and there's no way you would keep that sort of thing. But he said, no, that's another good little bait fish. We'll catch something bigger with that.
So it's, it was really cool being on the water, and after that it started getting a bit choppy. Just, the boat moving up and down. So I decided to head inshore and do a little bit of sightseeing. And then on the way back, just before the jetty, decided to go out past the caravan park again, and what did we see then?
Dolphins.
So the dolphins came to play with the boat, which was pretty cool.
Michael he's been to the area for 40 years. It's his home holiday ground, and so he knows what speed to run the boat past what areas. And he was just idling past. He said, watch this, and then sure enough 4 or 5 dolphins came and decided to play alongside the boat and in the wake, which was amazing to see.
Yeah, so Michael is a lovely fella, a great fella. The kids thought they'd get away from poppy jokes on this holiday, but did Michael have a few of those for you?
Well,
Yeah, he had a few good ones for the kids. So it's almost like that home away from home Poppy, Nanny and Poppy when they were out there. So yeah, it was a absolutely magic day. So that's why it's called Magic. The boat's actually called Magic, but we actually had a magic day on the water, just exploring. And
it's a different view of the whole area than we would have otherwise had the opportunity to do. So we're very grateful.
Very fortunate, very blessed to have been given that opportunity. And you know, it just goes to show you just never know who you meet on these trips and who you're going into. And we were just neighbours, just happened to be parked right next to him, and got along really well with them. And it taught us a fair bit as well about the area and fishing. And it's almost a bit like a school excursion on the water, wasn't it? It gave us a bit of history of the area and all the types of islands and stuff in the area. So that was a really cool experience with Michael and Meredith on that boat Magic, wasn't it?
Yes, it was great.
The next day we went out to
the Francios Peron National Park.
So he pronounced it Francios Peron.
It just sounds fancy. So it is included in the National Park Pass. So this was no extra charge. We thought we're here, let's go and give it a crack.
Yeah, so we once again went out there, and funny enough, we bumped into our travelling family, the Graham Nomads. Yep. They were doing the same track at the same time, so we actually paired up for the day and just enjoyed each other's company as we went exploring Francios Peron.
Yeah.
So a bit about the track. What do we have to do?
It's corrugated.
Yeah, so it is a bit of a corrugated place, and there is a point where you have to actually air down. There are compressors and stuff nearby. What's that place?
Near the Peron Heritage Station, Heritage Centre.
So there's compressors and stuff there to air down. So yeah, just make sure you air down. I think we aired down to about 20 psi maybe. Got to show the kids how to air down once again.
Got to show some tourists how to do it as well.
Yeah, some people just didn't know how to use a deflator before, so actually helped them and showed them before on our way. So yeah, the track itself is corrugated in places. You probably can do about 50 to 60 k's depending on some areas, so it's not super slow going, but it is corrugated. Not really difficult track at all. No. There are sections between the two Gregory's, so I don't know.
South Gregory's and Gregory's, I think it's called.
Yeah, that's a bit rougher and a bit soft. The sand is a bit soft through there, so we just kept our momentum up through there, and the low pressures, it was easy done in the car. Fair enough.
There's a couple of clay pans as well, which is the opposite. They're slick as anything. Been worn over that many times that any little bit of moisture on it would send you a little bit spinny, I think. But it was a nice welcome relief from the. It's
kind of like we go. All our experiences with corrugations, it's like, I don't know what it is, but you hit all these corrugations, you get fed up with it, then all of a sudden this flat bit comes and you're like, oh, it's like it just relieves the stress and the tension, and you go, oh, I can do this again. So if that's you and you've seen that and experienced that, let us know in the comment section below, because we just find that
it always happens to us. We're just getting over it and we get relief.
Or it's about to get a lot worse.
Yeah.
So it's the calm before the storm sometimes. So, and we managed to get out to Cape Peron, where the desert meets the sea.
Desert meets the sea. And it does. It goes from red dirt to white sand to ocean in a matter of 10 metres.
Yeah. And right up at Cape Peron, just to see that contrast between the two colours was pretty amazing. To see that kind of avenue before. So... but yeah, we're up there. We just did a bit of a little walk up to a bit of a lookout and just tried to see what we could see up there.
Yeah, and then not far around the corner from that is Skipjack Point.
Yeah, so we heard at Skipjack Point you can actually see sharks and all different kinds of marine life, like turtles and rays and even dugongs. Yeah. Sharks. But we really wanted to see sharks in the water because
Shark Bay.
It's Shark Bay, so we wanted to see some sharks, and apparently there could be like, I don't know, hundreds of sharks. People are saying through there at one time.
Apparently it's where the two different tides or currents meet. The whole area of Shark Bay is three distinct peninsulas or three distinct bays, and they're not cross-compatible. The snapper that live in one are not the same breed of snapper that live in another. And so right at the top of Skipjack Point is where this current change happens, and so it does create a bit of a feeding frenzy for sharks and other wildlife to sort of congregate in the currents. Yeah.
After that, we then headed back to
Bottle Bay.
So at Bottle Bay, you could drive down onto the beach. And then we basically just parked up the cars and had some lunch there, wasn't it?
Yeah, we'd heard that it's a really nice area to stop. Unfortunately, we copped the wind in the wrong direction, so it was a bit choppy for the kids to go in the water. But they made some sandcastles and some cities. And
played in the sand, and we decided to cook some bacon and eggs. And to our surprise, when we opened the angle, we had a little bit of a surprise there.
Yeah.
9 out of 12 eggs that we took were cracked.
Yeah.
so we had extra eggs that morning.
We did.
But yeah, that was I can see it'd be pretty cool just to stay down there and hang out and swim. But yeah, we just copped a lot of the wind there on that particular afternoon.
Yeah.
You probably fish down there as well. Like there's a lot to do there.
Some campgrounds all through there as well.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. Bottle Bay. Basically we just continued back home after that, didn't we?
Yeah, we rescued some tourists that were bogged.
Yeah, so they were stuck in between the Gregorys. Poor couple. They're older couple, hired I don't know what you call it, one of those
rooftop slide on
vans things, and literally just didn't know what to do, and the more they kept driving, the more they kept getting bogged. So wasn't kind of in the mood to pull out all the recovery gear. So we thought, we might as well just try and lower some tyre pressures and drive it out first. We managed to reverse it back out to some harder ground and then try and get moving again. So first attempt we got out easy. They tried to go again and got themselves bogged, so we had to repeat the whole process again. And in the end I just jumped into the car just to help speed it up, because it was getting late in the day and
we still had things to do.
Yeah, and trying to get vehicles out cannot be fun sometimes if they're really bogged. So managed to get them out there and continued down to the
Big Lagoon.
I don't know why I call it Blue Lagoon. Was it blue?
No,
Is there a Blue Lagoon?
It's a movie, but
the Big Lagoon, and it was really overcast, but I think the rain was about to set in.
Yeah, it looked like a big storm front was coming over, and there was a lot of seagrass all on the banks, so we didn't find it particularly appealing. We didn't stay there very long, but apparently lots of turtles live in there. We did not see any.
And we also bumped into the other family we've been travelling with, the Van Vances. They were there as well on their paddleboard, so it was good to just kind of, I guess, catch up with them and see what they've been up to and what they've experienced. So, but yeah, so Big Lagoon, and then nearby to Big Lagoon is where you can, I don't know how many Ks, not that far, is it?
It's not that far.
Back to the Air Up station, and because we didn't stop by the museum called? What do you call the museum?
The Peron Heritage Centre, I think
Yeah,
it was called.
and we decided to stop into there and check that out, and it's a different kind of museum, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's an old sheep station before it turned back into national park and conservation area. It was a sheep station, so we did a bit of a wander through the shearing sheds. We saw the old the sheep dip where they clean them of all their bugs, the shearing quarters, the kitchens. The kids got to ring the
It's like a big bell, big dinner bell. So they got to ring that. So it's an interactive museum.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of cool to see how these shearers would have lived in that particular time and the conditions they lived in. Like it wasn't the best conditions, but yeah, just literally a hard-working type of life, wasn't it?
But it was fairly recent too. I think it was completely decommissioned around 1993. So.
But yeah, it was a pretty unique experience to see that type of environment, and then down the front they had a bit of a museum type thing.
They had an exhibition. I think it was called Return to Eden, which tells the story of the Peron Peninsula. Being from indigenous times through to sheep stations and now back to undoing all the damage that has happened in the area, either by introduced species or lack of conservation. So you read on the boards of what's happening, and then you go into this little dark room through the little, I don't know what the fly streamers.
Yeah.
And it shows you in all of its glory. The introduced species. There was cats, feral cats, rabbits, foxes, goats, and then what was the last one? The mirror. Humans interaction with the area. So that was kind of cool. Again, a bit of school lesson on the way.
And they also showed you that the animals unique, or not unique, but in the area itself as well. So
that they're trying to, I suppose, get back into the area and get the environment back to the way it was.
And then this particular place also has a unique spa, is it?
Hot spring.
Is that what you
Artesian spring.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just this big pool of water in a big tub. Is that what you want to call it?
Yeah, it's like an old corrugated water tank.
Yeah, there's with a little spout coming out and the water just feeds into it. And boy, it was hot. Like
I think it runs at 40 degrees.
40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, it was hot. So there was a couple in there already swimming. We weren't game enough to jump in there. We just heard that there's a lot of bacteria and stuff. You've got a few cuts and that from...
Yeah, they say if you've got any sort of open wounds or sores, don't get in. It's just not... hygienic enough for that. They do clean it out on, I think, Mondays and Fridays.
Is it closed then?
Yeah, it is. They do close it then. But we were there on a Sunday. So the dirtiest time probably.
Okay, so we got it at its dirtiest. So, it was a pretty unique thing just to feel it.
Coming out of the tap was really quite hot.
Yeah. What did we do after that?
We aired back up and then headed back to camp. A quick dinner, and then all the kids from the families wanted to go and look for some crabs. Yeah, so we did a bit of crab hunting along the beach, which was pretty cool. Like you just see all these little creatures come to life at night, which you didn't really expect. And the tide was low as well, so you got to see a few other things that live under the water. Yeah,
and things splashing in the water. But yeah, it's pretty cool to catch up with the Graham Nomads and just explore the beachfront with the little torches all shining around and going in different directions again. Cool. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
The next morning we actually went out to... Where did we go next morning?
We had an early start, so we headed to Denham first to put some petrol in. It's a cute little town. We got there a bit too early to see anything open, but it's like a seaside village.
Yeah, just a cute little seaside village. Yeah. So we didn't really spend any time in there apart from putting fuel in.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's there, whether there's stuff you can stock up on and groceries now. I know there's a few caravan parks and stuff in there. So but we didn't do much particularly in Denham.
Yeah.
But filled up, and this particular day we knew we were going to go to Steep Point. and we've just heard steep points are a long drive, so we can't tow any vans in there. So we drove back to Hamelin Pools, and there's a caravan park there.
Yeah. So you can actually store your vans there. I think it was $10 for a 24-hour period. So from 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. So you can store your van there and go out and do an overnighter out at Steep Point. If you are going to stay in your van, so use it as a caravan park for the night, you do pay a site fee. For us on an unpowered site was $49.50.
Yeah.
For all of us. There's a I don't know what you call it, a general store post stop. So where they've got scones and a tea house that you can get some food, some hot cooked meals. You could have your last orders in by 5 p.m. if you wanted burgers and that sort of thing. There's a swimming pool. You can't drink the water there. They're very adamant about that. Do not drink the water. So you have to come prepared with drinking water. There is amenities blocks with showers and hot showers as well, and a camp kitchen that you can wash your dishes and things in. But yeah, it must be self-sufficient with the drinking water.
Yeah, so there is powered sites there, just no plug-in water to go into. So yeah, we dropped the van off, and I think we started the morning, or we left Hamelin at about
9:50 something.
9:50, and drove out to, I love this name for a road, it's called the Useless Loop. When you get into the video, we'll show you a bit more as to why it's called the Useless Loop. But the name is actually pretty fitting for what that road actually is.
Yeah, it's pretty useless. Doesn't really take you anywhere.
Yeah, so Steep Point, for you that know, is basically the most western point of mainland Australia. And if you've done like Cape York, where you got the most northern point, it's another place for you to get a opportunity with a
photo with a sign.
But Steep Point itself, or the road into Steep Point, it's let's just say it's very memorable road. So the first 20 or so Ks, I think it is, it's all sealed in bitumen, and you're just like going, wow, this is really cool. And then the next 20 Ks is unsealed, but pretty good. Well, how many Ks is it from Hamelin Pool to Steep Point? Is it 160?
160 something Ks.
So it's 160 Ks. So the first 20 Ks is all bitumen, and then it goes to a bit of a dirt highway is what I'd like to call it. Kind of reminds me a bit of like, I don't know, Strzelecki. Maybe not even like the Strzelecki track.
PDR a little bit. It's wide.
Yeah, not as
still
corrugated.
Not as corrugated, maybe.
So it's this big wide open dirt highway when you get some speeds up. And then it just starts to turn when you get to Hamelin
Tamla station.
I don't think that station's operational anymore.
No, it's not open to the public at the moment.
So basically pulled over in there down to about 22 psi, and then kept on going.
And just after that, we actually hit another patch of bitumen, which went for about, I don't know, 5Ks, 7Ks, and we were like, oh, we've just aired down.
So you got to take it a lot slower through there, and then after that you come to another, is it the ranger station? I don't know what it is called.
Yeah, like the national park payment station.
So that's where you can also purchase your park fees, but ours was covered by the annual pass. So once again, the annual pass, you just don't realise how many times you're actually going to need it. So make sure you get that annual pass from WA. And what else was there? Pretty much after that, we encountered the salt evaporating. Is that the salt
so we went
evaporating
into
place?
then a mining lease. So they tell you, make sure you stay on the main track here. It is an active mining area. Not sure what they mine. I think maybe perhaps salt, because there's these big evaporation sections where it looks like they pump water in and then seal it up and then wait for the water to go. I'm not sure. Changing the roads into Useless Loop there, it looked like some sort of village there, but we went then out into the national park tracks.
But it's pretty much once you hit that pay station where you air down again, I think we dropped it down to 18 psi there. The track just turns, like it's real corrugated. It's rough, it's slow, and you start going through the dunes, up and over the dunes, and there's a couple of places where your car, it's almost like wombat holes, your car's just going left, right, and our heads, we were just shaking, like it was really rough through there. We just couldn't even hold the footage still, like it's just up, down, it was really rough. But this hill was also quite soft, so there's no way you'd kind of tow anything up that hill. No caravans for sure.
Certainly no caravans up there. It is quite tight, and you're doing loop back, so you're travelling through the dune valley, sort of slowly making your way up before you crest over and then zigzag back on yourself, back down the other side again, and you're doing this across quite significant sand dunes.
But you also get to see these amazing sand dunes as you're driving through. It's almost like they're untouched or no one's been on them type sand dunes. But just amazing sand dunes. We've never really seen that. Like we've done Simpson Desert. I guess when we were looking at it, we kind of thought this is what Simpson would look like. But Simpson was just a different thing. But going over the things that did bring us memories back of crossing over through the Simpson and how slow it actually was through there. And then we basically you keep driving, and then you come to the coast. It's the coast, and then it's like, whoa, we're supposed to be this close to water. Just was not expecting to go that close to water, and we ended up having to drive along the shoreline.
No, we timed the tides perfectly.
Okay, we timed but the water was coming up, and it was like going, wow, this is really, really close. And it wasn't soft either. It was quite hard, and it had corrugations on the shoreline as well. So, but that was quite nice driving through there, and the water on your right, just actually seeing that blue water, and driving in and around the coast was really spectacular driving through there. And it's quite enjoyable to break up of all the corrugations, just to sit back and take in what you're actually driving through.
Once you've done that little beach section, then you then pop back up inland a little bit, and the cliffs start to rise again, don't they?
But the track after that, just I don't know, you can probably hear by our voice, like the track is just it's so rough going. The time you get to Steep Point, like it's just so corrugated and so slow and really rough. But the Ranger itself handled it pretty well. I was pretty impressed by how well the car actually performed. Probably its real first, apart from Cape, was it the one we did? Cape Peron. Francios Peron. This was probably its really good test of how good the car can handle those corrugations. And compared to our Hilux, we did feel a lot more comfortable in this car, but we still felt them. But after that, you come to the Ranger station, which everyone's required to check in.
Even day visitors, you need to go in there and just let them know that you're in the park.
She gives you a bit of a lowdown of where things are and the toilets and stuff and how to get there. And she basically said the road out to Steep Point was really well signposted.
Just follow the signs.
So we thought, oh cool, we'll just follow the signs, but we struggled.
So you come to the campgrounds first, and you can see access roads, and they've all got names on them, and then there's these little tracks that go off to the left. Think, do I take that one? Do I take the one on the right? And then you end up at a toilet block, so you got to do a loop and come back and go, well, it wasn't that track, so maybe we take this next one.
But you pass along, I forget what the name of that campground's called. I don't know, I can't remember what the name of that campground's called.
Blackies was one of them.
But they're all allocated sites through there, so once again you have to book in advance to camp there. But it's a long way to go to camp on that road, so but in hindsight, if you really think about it, it's like a 3-4 hours one way in is what we found to get to Steep Point. But when we got to Steep Point, you kind of see that sign, don't you?
I think it was 3.5 hours in, and then
so that's with a little bit of taking some footage and doing bits and pieces through along the way there. So allow about 3.5 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours, I'd say, to get through to the sign. But Steep Point itself, there's not really much there. It's real rocky and stuff there, but the actual sign is there, and we made it through there, through the corrugations. I guess when we got there, we were just thinking, oh wow, we've got to actually drive back through what we just came from. But
we probably spent a little bit longer than we intended to there. To stretch our legs, and
it was just a nice break to get away from those corrugations. Did you like those corrugations? No. Kids didn't like the corrugations, but at Steep Point we just basically once again had some lunch there and just explored steep point, even though there wasn't much there. It's kind of like just cliffs that just drop off, and it's real rocky through there. So it's just be a bit careful when you're walking around through there. But we got the shot. We did get the shot. We've got the evidence to prove that we were there.
We did it.
But yeah, steep point. It's a long way to go for a picture of a sign, and it was really rough. So
we didn't come out unscathed either. We found that casualty in the fridge. We busted
that's right. When we went to get some food out. So yeah, broken glass bottle of beer.
Handy tip: remove the glass from your onboard fridge.
It's not really nice when you go to lift your angle up and you just smell beer. You go, something's not there. Yeah, but that was just covered through there. But yeah, it's pretty amazing to just get to that sign. And I guess if you've done the north or you've done the east, then it's one of those things. Once you start, now you can't stop. So we'll just keep going around and trying to get photos with these signs. Through the process. But yeah, on the way back, we basically just went through back through the roads.
Yeah, just before we turned back, there's a little campground called the Oven, which is right down sort of near Steep Point. There's actually some bush loos in there. Use them if you need them. It goes without saying. Just leave no trace in the area, especially when facilities are provided. So
but yeah, pretty much there was two options to come back. There was another type of track the ranger told us we could do, but she did say it was longer and probably more slower going. Yeah, so
it follows the westerly cliffs and then comes back in sort of near the ranger station. I think it's called Nor 6 or something, the Nor 6 loop.
Yeah, but we weren't in any. It was pretty late in the day. I think by that time, I think it was about 3 o'clock or 3:30, and we just go the road that you travelled because we weren't sure what was on the other side of that and what we would encounter. So we just basically headed back down the same road, and we actually found it was probably a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and it
felt quicker anyway,
and smoother. It was still rough, but it didn't feel as bad.
I'm not sure why that was. Whether it was just we got used to the corrugations or we prepared ourselves. Just felt like we could get on top of them a bit quicker. As to coming in, you just couldn't find the sweet spot to just pop on top of the corrugation. So, but going back, we just found it a lot easier. It was quite pleasant driving with the sunset.
Yeah, and we had more room too when we got to the beach. The tide had receded. There was a bit more room there. Felt a little bit safer going through there. Yeah, there were less cars on the road as well. Obviously, a lot of people go in there to camp for the night. They do an overnighter. We weren't, so we had a clear track as well going out. In
hindsight, it's probably nice. Probably would have been better to just camp there for the night. So if you're doing a day trip out to Steep Point, it's a long day. I was pretty much mentally fatigued because you're constantly looking out for things, and it's like you're on edge the whole time when you're driving through there, just looking out for stuff and trying to adjust your speeds and so forth. But it is a big day to go out to Steep Point from Hamelin Pools anyway.
Yeah. So on the way back, we stopped to air up right on one of the bottom of the peninsulas and found these little bubbly things in the water, didn't we, before we headed back. So we timed it. We knew then what the road conditions were like, so we only had to air up once, which would get us home. So we did that all at once. So it took a little bit longer. So we had a bit of an explore around the water as it was coming back in. Yeah, so it was it felt easier the drive back.
But yeah, once we got back to Hamelin Station, I think that was about,
we were done.
I don't know what time that was, 6:30.
So yeah, about 20 past 6 or something, I think.
Yeah, so started at around about
9:50
and came back about 6:20. So
it's a big day.
It's a big day, and it is quite quite draining. So I don't know. You talked to a lot of the people that did Steep Point, and they were like, "Wow, that is a pretty corrugated road." So just be prepared. But if it's on your bucket list,
tick that
you got to suck it up and drive through it. So it was good to get there and to get that iconic picture. So but yeah, when we got back to Hamelin Caravan Park, we did notice our angle wasn't cooling anymore. So not sure what's going on with that, but we'll have to try and check it out and see what's going on with our trusty angle that's been with us for so long. So we'll find out what's wrong with that. So I think that's it for this type of Shark Bay, Monkey Bar, Steep Point.
It's been a great time.
yeah, there's a lot to do out there. So I don't know. We allocated what 4 days. 4 days out there, 5 days out there. You probably could add a little bit more if you wanted to rest up. But yeah, it's pretty much on the go for us when we were there. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that whole peninsula there. Yeah. So I guess that's it for this video. If you found this video informative, don't forget to give us a thumb up and hit that subscribe button, as we're always checking out new videos or new sites and playing around with different gear and equipment. So in this particular series, we're doing the whole West Coast. So yeah, stay tuned for those next videos, and we'll see you on the next one. See ya.
Bye.